Welcome to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Online Series Double Coverage. I'm Courtney Schellin, joined by Greg Tepper today.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about Baylor, and we're going to talk about some of the rivalries in Texas football as well as some high school football.
Okay, let's do it.
So, Baylor. Everyone's talking about how Baylor is a big offensive powerhouse now, so what are you thinking? What are your thoughts?
Well, you've got to be impressed with the way that they've started the season. I think Bryce Petty has definitely lived up to the expectations and then some, but that's the expectations that have been set by Baylor. Lake Seastrunk has been fantastic. They've had Antoine Goodley emerge as a fantastic wide receiver alongside Tevin Reese. I mean, the offense is just humming right now. 70-something points, 70 points against Louisiana Monroe, and all that fun stuff. But I do want to see them play a team with a pulse. I hate to say that about Louisiana Monroe and Buffalo and Wofford, but those are teams that Baylor should be drubbing. These are teams that they should be beating up on. So I look at it, and I don't want to take anything away from Baylor because I think Baylor's been great. They've been doing their job. I just want to see them do it against a team that can punch back before I'm ready to declare them, the superpower that we think that they look like.
Exactly. If you were to put them against Texas A&M, we'd be seeing a lot different scores. Sure. Versus they've been making 70 points per game, but they've only played 2 games. So when you look at perspective of the players' stats and say like they're all up in very high, like Bryce Petty's throwing 75% in pass completions, but he's only played 2 games versus many of the other teams they've already played.
Yeah, 2 games against FBS opponents, right? With Buffalo and Louisiana Monroe. That's what, I think that there's nothing wrong with getting excited about Baylor. I think that the offensive firepower is there. They have a history of doing it under Art Briles. But I think that it's okay to say we don't know how good Baylor is. We don't know if Baylor's really, really good or, just a good team, a good team that's having a really great month. It's hard to say right now, but, I'm excited to find out. Here's the thing about Baylor, though. If you look at the schedule, what they've got coming up, Kansas State, Iowa State, and who's the other one? Kansas State. Who's the other terrible team in the Big 12?
They're playing West Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia. Okay, so they're playing those 4 teams. They should start off 7-0. If they don't start off 7-0, there's going to be a red flag there. But then they go November 7th. They host Oklahoma. That's going to be when we really find out about them. But it's exciting times for Baylor. Baylor, should be excited. They should be rallying around this team. It's a lot of fun to watch, even if they are only rolling the starters out there for 30 minutes in the first half.
Right. I mean, they have top receivers. I mean, it's clear that they have receivers who know what they're doing. Sure. And then on top of that, you have Lake Seastrunk, who Heisman hopeful. But, I mean, I think he's still up there. He's definitely still up in the ranking for becoming a Heisman winner. He right now he's ranked 15th in the country for his rush yards. So.
Well, it's funny. Before the year, I said on this very YouTube channel that I didn't think that Lake Seastrunk was going to win the Heisman. And I think I'm right. I don't think Lake Seastrunk's going to win the Heisman because Bryce Petty might win the Heisman.
Right.
I mean, he's been incredible.
Now you have to consider that.
You have to consider
wasn't even consideration before.
Exactly. You have to consider all those different factors. And it's just a lot of fun to watch. This Baylor offense, it's fun to watch. I don't know why we have to jump to a conclusion quite yet. We can just sit back and enjoy what's been a very, very fun offense to watch so far.
Right. Enjoy the talent while it lasts.
Exactly.
Until
Well, I mean, because who knows how long it may end up lasting into the BCS championship game, but we don't know right now. I think that anybody who's drawing a really big conclusion about it is kind of. I'm waiting for a little more evidence. I want a little more evidence before I'm ready to jump full bore onto the Baylor bandwagon. But for now, hey, so far so good.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk rivalries now. So now that Texas A&M and Texas don't play each other, so what are the big rivalries left in Texas football?
Yeah, it's funny. Forever Texas and Texas A&M kind of defined football in Texas. Their big Thanksgiving game was always the game that everybody, regardless of your rooting interest, sat down and watched. But now, obviously, with them on the outs, they've kind of broken up. I think that, Texas came over and picked up its T-shirt from A&M's house and stuff like that. But I wonder, what are the bigger rivalries now? I think we had one last week with Rice and Houston with the Bayou Bucket. That's Definitely. A lot of fun. And I think, now there's not one, they're no longer scheduled after this season, but I hope that they come to their senses and say, listen, it's a fun rivalry, we should continue it. Others, coming up this weekend is the Iron Skillet, the SMU and TCU. That's one that's, we're kind of regardless of how good either team is, it's kind of up in the air as to who wins that one every year. TCU looks like the favorite this year, but, we've thought that in the past, and SMU's up and won it. So
right, but if you look back 10 years or so, it's pretty clear that TCU has more wins than SMU in records, but when you go back 2 years, in 2011, there's upsets, overtime win with SMU. So.
Exactly, and that was a TCU team that we thought was going to be really good, and ended up being pretty darn good. And all of a sudden, SMU, walks into their barn and wins. So it's a game that you can't really predict, and that's what I think makes these rivalries kind of fun. But as far as the Big 12 is concerned, unfortunately, as far as intrastate rivalries, there really isn't one. Texas and Texas Tech, maybe. I mean, Baylor and TCU.
Yeah, but then it's almost like you're just trying to pull them in together to make a rivalry, which is not necessarily there.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, Texas's big rival is still Oklahoma. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And Texas Tech doesn't really have that big rival. It used to be A&M. They used to get really fired up.
The Texas Tech TCU game, though, that showed a pretty good.
Sure, I think that could get a little chippy in future occurrences. But
definitely.
For now, I think that really you have to look kind of below the Big 12. You have to look at those other conferences to find these big rivalries, which is a bit of a shame. I think that I, for one, always liked the Texas and A&M game. I thought that was a lot of fun, and it's a bit of a shame that it's gone. But I think eventually they'll come back around and they'll finish it, and they'll get back together on the same field. And I hope that Rice and Houston will kind of renew that rivalry and continue that going forward.
Rice is looking really good too.
Yeah.
Especially the way they started out when they played Texas A&M. They started off strong. They kept up. I mean, they didn't win the game, but they did keep up.
Well, and then, we thought they were looking really good, and then they go and they play Houston. And Houston, a team that we were kind of sour on after their 5-7 season last year, all of a sudden they up and beat them. So it's that kind of rivalry that I think makes college football so great. It's what, frankly, separates college football from pro football and the kind of sterilized thing that we get there. I think that the rivalry and tradition is important, and what we saw with the Bayou Bucket at Reliant Field is a lot of fun, and I think that it's fun for the fans, it's fun for the players, and I think we need more of it. We'll see, where they come from in the future.
Right, if we throw in some more.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Texas high school football. This weekend, we have some big games.
Very big games.
So which ones are we looking to highlight?
Well, I'm looking at Campbell and Allen. I think that's a great matchup, kind of a strength-on-strength matchup. Can Allen, Kyler Murray keep it going against what has been a great Campbell defense with Solomon Thomas and John Harubin? It's been a very dominating defense led by Coach Joe McBride. Can Allen, the pretty much consensus #1 team in the state, can they continue doing what they're doing? Other games across the state, the game will be for Fox Football Friday, powered by DCTF, is Plano at Hebron, two defensive mind squads. Look at the Lockhorns. Kind of a surprise battle of unbeatens down in the Houston area. Channelview and Galena Park North Shore should be a lot of fun. Can Channelview continue their role so far? They're off to a 4-0 start. And then also down in the Houston area, you look at I had a game and it completely slipped my mind.
Well, in a 4A Division 24, you have all those teams going head to head. You have Friendswood, all those teams.
Yeah.
Those are all going to be.
Those are going to be good games in the Houston or in the Austin area. Cedar Park and Leander looks like it'll be a great game as usual. Those are two teams that don't particularly care about one another.
Right.
And then in the Golden Triangle, Coastal Bend area, you look at Cal Allen against Port Lavaca Calhoun. Two teams that love to run the ball, get out and just grind it out 3 yards in a cloud of dust. If you're looking for a good small school game, Stanford and Cisco out in West Texas. Two teams that have had a lot of success in the past and look like they're really good this year. So it's another big week of high school football.
If you go back in West Texas too, you have Odessa Permian and then now Midland.
Yeah,
that classic rivalry.
Those are two teams that don't like each other, and it's an important game. Can Permian get back on track after that slow start? They scored a big win last week against Abilene, a suddenly scuffling Abilene team. Can Midland Lee take it to them, or is Odessa Permian really on their way back after that rough start? It remains to be seen, but as always, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. As usual, it's going to be a good weekend for Texas football and a good season. So, thanks for tuning in.